Good evening, everyone. Right. Okay, my talk is titled "My Experiences of Being a Skeptic" because it's a very personal thing. It's, I'm not here in any sort of official capacity. First thing I need to say is that skeptic, you might have heard of the term climate change skeptic. Now, people like James Dellingpole here. Now, I think it's important to say that in my eyes, these guys aren't skeptics, they're deniers. There's a very, very big difference. So, the obvious question is, what exactly is a skeptic? Well, it's kind of hard to define, but I've always told people whenever I've been asked that it's a rationalist. They base their beliefs on evidence. They use the scientific method, and they have a tendency to call out bullshit. Now, it might sound really grumpy, someone who just evidence, that's all we care about. But I would say this, we're a happy bunch. Look what happens when you give skeptics free sandwiches, for example. Absolutely love it. So this is down at the head of Steam, where we have our socials and our talks. We have a social on the first Thursday of every month and a talk on the third Thursday. This was at John Ronson's talk. His guy wrote The Men Who Stare at Goats, and he's quite famous in the skeptic community. Had about 150 people there. A very, very good night. Now, if you can't make it to Skeptics in the Pub in Liverpool, they are all over the country and all over the world. So it's a real global community. And skepticism, as it stands, and if I can borrow a religious analogy, it's a very broad church. There's many, many topics. Now, because I've only got 5 minutes, I can't go over the research that goes into the conclusions that I'm about to present. So I'm just going to present the conclusions of a lot of things. For example, the claim that MMR causes autism, that is bullshit. Andrew Wakefield here, not a doctor anymore. So vaccines and vaccine denial, because there's a big anti-vax movement still around. That's very much a topic for skepticism. And in my mind, it's the most important thing because anti-vaxxers, what they present does actually end up killing people. For example, whooping cough. The rate's up nearly 10 times on last year and people end up dying from it. We also look at alternative medicine, which in my eyes is alternatives to medicine and is largely bullshit. There's bits of it that are all right, but mostly bullshit. So you've got acupuncture, ear candling, and reflexology there. But the biggest target in alternative medicine is homeopathy. Impossible to sum up in a few sentences. But here we have Sam Hanneman down on the right demonstrating his homeopathic baldness cure, which has worked very well for him. So we don't just complain about things, we get proactive. This was the 1023 event for a couple of years ago. There we are all overdosing on homeopathy just to show that it does absolutely nothing whatsoever. Another target is creationism. You may have heard of Michael Gove allowing creationist schools today, deeply worrying. Creationism, a religious-based position saying that evolution doesn't happen and the universe is 6,000 years old. Big problem. There's also psychics. Psychic abilities. The ability to talk to dead is bullshit. This is a local lad, it's Joe Power, who thought he'd try and find Shannon Matthews, not realising that he was actually stood next to her abductor. Also, talking about proactivity campaigns, there was a challenge issued by the Mosaic Skeptics to Sally Morgan to try and prove her powers, for her to take the $1 million challenge, which she turned down. We also look at paranormal investigations, ghosts. That again is bullshit. Here we have some of the things that paranormal investigators use, including dowsing rods and Ouija boards. So we're very forefront of science there. Another thing we can look at is conspiracy theories. Things like 9/11 was an inside job, as well as 7/7. Again, the majority of conspiracy theories are bullshit. 9/11 not an inside job, but it's not just going against things, it's also being positive, looking at science, for example. There's a guy called Phil Allport. We had a talk from him where he's talking about Liverpool's contribution to CERN. You may have heard of the hunt for the Higgs boson. So if you feel like you want to give skepticism a go, our next meeting is tomorrow. It's by a guy called Mark Henderson, who's written a book called The Geek Manifesto. 7:30 start. It is free to get in, although they do suggest a donation. So if you want to give skepticism a go, that's where you turn up to. Thank you very much.